Om Shri Sai Ram. Invoking the blessings of our beloved Lord Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, it's my pleasure to bring you another episode of his story through the eyes of our students, of his boys. So, as we normally do, we will start our program with a prayer. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Today, I have a great pleasure to introduce another brother, Brother BVS Sagar. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Brother Sagar is from 1972 batch, one of the first boys who have had the privilege of seeing Vrindavan come up and being under his wings to learn everything of starting off the whole institution cycle. Brother Sagar joined in 1972 as a student, and he finished his graduation in 1975. Then he, in fact, went on to do his LLB, staying at Vrindavan. He is presently retired as a Vice President Procurement, Pfizer Healthcare Private Limited, Chennai. He's based in Hyderabad. So it's my great pleasure and privilege to have Brother Sagar join us on this program and give us divine stories and insight into the divine life. Thank you, Brother Sagar, for joining and welcome.
Sai Ram, thank you very much for this opportunity. Very kind of you to have invited me onto this. So it's my privilege to be associated with all of you and share a few of my thoughts and golden moments that we spent with Swami.
Thank you, brother. So at the very beginning, I would like to request you to tell us something about yourself before you came to Bhagwan. What was your backdrop? So it'll be nice for us to hear. So tell us something about you, your family background, and how you got introduced to Bhagwan.
Well, I think all the credit of our reaching Swami's Lotus Feet should go to my father, Sri B.V. Ramnarao. He has, even though he is not a firm believer in the spiritual thought and his spiritual processes, by his divine grace that he happened to connect with Swami, and then he had subsequently he had held a lot of service positions in the organization and devoted himself to Swami's cause. So therefore, I would say he was our pathbreaker for us and a guru who led us to Swami's Lotus Feet. My mother, of course, she was devout in her own way, but then followed my father and, of course, reached Swami's footsteps. Therefore, it is they who brought us to my brother, my sister, and myself to Swami. So I would say that's a starting point of our journey towards in Bhagwan's divine presence. So while doing so, I thought I would also, it will not be out of place that my father started in a total negative, not very interested, not very convinced factor, and subsequently moved in seeing, observing Swami, moving closely, and Swami interacting with him, blessing him, and blessing with his grace, that he became a very ardent follower and devotee of Bhagwan. Thereby, he also, along with him, pulled all his brothers and sisters, including his parents, he has brought them to the Lotus Feet of Swami. And my grandfather, he was a chartered engineer of yesteryears under the British regime. He was a leading engineer in the engineering services, civil engineer. And when he reached Swami and connected Swami, took him under his fold, he had spent the rest of his life in Swami's service. To quote a few, he was involved in the supervision of Purnachandra Auditorium, or Anantapur College, South Prashanti Construction, and our Sarvamata Stupam. All these were under he was supervising those activities at the age of 75 plus. And Swami was very gracious to ensure that he is well taken care of. He and my grandmother, who used to stay in Prashant Nilayam, they stayed there for a number of years. And Swami took care of them very well while he was rendering his services to Swami. And that's how the whole family has set into, and we have, in fact, all my uncles, aunts, all their children, next generation, everyone is involved in Swami's activities one way or the other, either conducting bhajans or service
Your father
activities and
was
whatnot.
known like an atheist who never
He,
believed in any of these formats. So,
very
what was a
much.
major turning point in his life? Was any miracle or anything like that?
I don't call it a miracle. I think if you use a word miracle, I would like to quote a small anecdote, if you don't mind, in the beginning
Sure.
itself. There was once we were all sitting in Brindavan at Swami's feet in what we call a safe room. One of the boys returned from his hometown. So Swami looked at him and said, "When did you come?" That boy said, "I came this morning, Swami." So he asked him, "What were you arguing with that person in the train the, the previous night?" So this boy, he said, "No, Swami, I was not arguing. They were asking me where I was studying. I was telling them, about Swami's college." I think one of them, the co-passengers, were a little derogatory, and in asking him about Swami, have you seen Sat Sai Baba and things like that. And then he asked him, it seems, have you seen any miracles? So this boy, then Swami asked this boy, what did you say? What did you answer? This boy said, Swami, I told them, yes, I have seen miracles. Swami himself said, did you see miracles? What are the miracles? So this boy, very, casually, I would say, Swami, I've seen Swami giving a ring, vibhuti, locket, blah, blah, blah. And then Swami then he looked at everyone around and said, what is a miracle? If you see, then someone said, Swami's omnipresence and Swami curing people. Said, no, 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 no. Those are not miracles. Inner transformation is miracle. And each one of you should become a miracle by yourself. You should say, I am miracle of Swami. I am the representative of Swami's miracle because I got transformed from X position to Y position. And it's one situation to the other situation. This is the greatest lesson that all of us should probably keep in our mind when we talk about Swami and a word like miracle so easily. And therefore, coming back to my father, when you say miracle, from what he was a non-believer situation to a situation where he was, following like a shadow in behind Swami, that is a transformation. Probably, if you were to call it a miracle, that was a transformation the others who have looked at him have perceived, and that cannot happen but for Swami's grace and love. So therefore, I think from that point of view, my father has transformed himself into the devotee and subsequently moved into the path of service and activities, and he was blessed by Swami in many occasions. So that's how it is viewed. So therefore, again, I'm reiterating without being unnecessarily repetitive. But then all of us should not be using the word miracle so loosely. My request. So
Wonderful. You have set the tone. You have set the tone for further discussion. That's good. So let us know then, how did the interest of joining as a student came about? How did that happen?
Yeah, it's not, by no means it's not my initiative. It is my parents who have decided that It will be a great opportunity for a youngster like me to to be part of Swami's educational institution. I didn't know what is Bangalore and what is in Bangalore in Swami's ashram, because all those years, maybe my 10th year to 12th, 13th year, 14th, 15th years, we were only going to Puttaparthi. All I know is Swami in Puttaparthi or Swami when he has come to Shivam. Those are the only things I knew personally. Beyond that, I really do not know. So therefore, when my father said, I'll take you and join you in Swami permits and I will put you in Swami's college, I was, there's no, I was resisting internally, but not could express as much. Nevertheless, I tagged along because those are the days when we do not say much to the parents and accept what they say as a good for us. And therefore, I think if at all I have had the opportunity of being in Vrindavan, the credit should go to my parents and not to me. So,
So,
so
so tell us what is the how did it happen, and how you became a student.
okay. After having decided, my father took me to Prashanthi Nilayam, and of course, my father said while going, he said, "See, we are going to Swami's college. Any course, anything Swami tells you, don't say no. Just join." Being in divine presence and studying in Swami's college is all the most important thing. What you study, what you get a degree is not important. So therefore, he set the tone for me from that point of view, and said, "Do not ask anything. Whatever Swami says, we'll accept." And we went to Prashant Nilayam. And one day in Prashant Nilayam, when I was sitting in the sands and listening to bhajans, evening bhajans, Swami was coming from Vedapat Shala at that time. It is behind our Ganesh
Ganesh.
Mandir, right, just behind that. Swami was coming out. Those days, instead of our hostels, he used to go to Vedapat Shala for those boys. So he was coming from there, and I think my father must have prayed to him. And someone came and called and said, "Swami is calling you there." And I went there. Then, as usual, took namaskar and stood there, folded hands. And Swami said, "So you want to join Swami's college? Go tomorrow, join there. I'll give letters." Of course, this giving letters was not totally new to me. I was not aware of what he was referring to. Nevertheless, my father is there, so that was an assurance for me that he knows the rest of the process. Then I took Swami's namaskar. Swami said, "Be good, study well." And that ended. And next day morning, we both set off to Vrindavan. And once we reached Vrindavan, the first impression you get is that you are entering into a beautiful, farmhouse-like atmosphere. And the first impression you get is a Vrindavan board and the big gates. Open it, you are into a big garden with all avenues of gulmohar trees. Red carpet on top, red carpet on the floor, because all the flowers would have fallen across. And on your right is Sai Ram shed. On this left is one semi-dilapidated building. I didn't know that was a hostel for me that time. So we left our luggage and Walter Cowan building and others were not there that time.
Not there.
So you stand in the present in the front at the gate. You can look almost towards Kandugudi. To that level of everything is open there. Behind that college, that compound of Vrindavan, that side also is totally open. And this side, if you look at it on the right side, toward the end of the railway station side, you see the compound wall. Nothing else that hinders your sight. Absolutely clean atmosphere. So beautiful. And Whitefield and those days, Bangalore was very, very pleasant place. So therefore, we went, left the luggage in Sai Ram shed and walked across to the college. Went to Professor or Dean Narendra's office. And my father took a step forward and he went into a room and requested for permission to, just tell him that I brought my son for the admission. He called us, very polite, very genuinely polite, and very soft-spoken gentleman. So he made us sit there and said, "Okay, which class?" And about to say, in the meantime, my father took out a letter and just said, "The Swami has given me this letter to you." Believe me, whole thing stopped for him. He just stood, took the letter, applied to his eyes and opened. He went on reading that letter. Even though it's a small letter, probably, it's something which is great,
Reverential, very
obviously,
reverential.
and coming from Swami. So he was holding that letter, reading it. So my father waited for the couple of minutes, and then he said, he has come to join any course. You have a seat. He'll join, sir, and all that. Then Swami said, Swami. Then principal said, no, Swami has written, join him in BSc class. So let him join in BSc. That's how my BSc admission took place. And my marks and all those remarks and marks, everything went into it. And on top of it is this recommendation letter. So nothing else come in my way. He said, you can join tomorrow morning and attend the classes. That ended my college admission. And then we came out, and then father asked him, how about the hostel? He said, there's one Professor H. Sundar Rao, you meet him. Professor Sundar Rao is one of the very benign looking noble gentlemen. And he always used to accompany Swami when he is around. Yeah, he's a very, very, very nice. He was, I think, principal in one of the colleges in Dharwad or somewhere. Came here to settle down, and he was our warden that time. So his apartment was next to hostel itself. So we went and met him. Again, same letter was given to him. Immediately he said, okay, come at this is the lunchtime. Will come. You come there. There's one Mr. Ravi Shankar. Meet him and join the hostel. And I think with that, whole thing took place probably in less than half an hour. My admission into the hostel and college was done. And then my father looked at his watch and said, now the admission college is over, admission hostel is over. What am I going to sitting here? I'll go back to Puttaparthi. You do the rest of the things and get into the hostel. So he literally left me at the doorstep of Bhagwan at his Lotus Feet, and left me to fend myself, and he left. And then at lunchtime, Professor Sundarrao himself called me and connected me with Mr. Ravi Shankar. He was my senior in the college and hostel, and he was running the hostel that time. So Ravi Shankar, he came and helped me with my luggage. He took me to one of the rooms, put me there, and said, this rectangle area is yours. This piece of land is yours. Put your suitcase between you and your neighbor, and settle down. And that's how my hostel admission was there. But then looking at the hostel, as such, you do not feel anything extraordinary about it. It's so simple. And Swami repeatedly, subsequently, always used to say, simple living, high thinking. This is what Swami used to say. So obviously, that is what is inculcated in everyone's mind when you are looking around in the hostel areas. And students, I've seen the senior members who are already in the hostel for 1 year and more than 1 year, because 69 the college started. I joined in 72. So there are people who are 1, 2, 3 years senior in hostel. Some of them in PUC to degree, and some of them degree to degree and things like that. So there are some second year degree students. There are second year PUC students. It was like that. So when you meet them, you feel so comfortable with them, because those very simple living people, and no complexities about around them, and all of them are very so good in their own approach of meeting people, making people comfortable. I think within less than a week, I was comfortably settled in the whole hostel atmosphere. And then I
In
realized,
today's time, they say that education is not merely teaching, then it becomes facilitation of education, that you help people to learn. And then the next venture, which today they are identifying, is creating of environment of learning is the most important.
Very true.
So now the series has reached a level that we are trying to, that the education institution must create an environment of learning in which facilitation becomes easy and teaching is secondary. So if I hear your story, I realize that Swami had literally created that as a first thing, a create environment of learning.
Absolutely. And he handpicked those students like that. Our seniors were so wonderful people. It's personal experience of mine. But then one thing very, always is to stand out is none of them is to talk. All of them are serious looking and they mind their businesses. They don't indulge in any talk. Like introduction was over, period. After that, there's nothing more to talk to each other. Because the students hostel with the 45 students and no one to look at, the noise levels could be anything. But here it's entirely a different proposition. Therefore, you yourself slowly start getting into that mold, saying that okay, noise is one thing which is not acceptable, and talking, unnecessary talking, because even if you want to talk, the other man is not ready to listen or waste his
Responding.
time and waste his time and efforts. And I've seen those people indulging in so beautifully, getting into some book reading habits and whatnot, everything. And an atmosphere was such created that we were part of the hostel mess maintenance, hostel part of the kitchen maintenance, part of the vegetable cutting, part of chapati making service. You are involved in one activity or other during the day, and therefore you slowly get into different groups and get to know each other. Nothing, no other greater induction was conducted anywhere.
Required.
And of course, college was good in its own way, because I must tell you that in BSc Physics, Chemistry, Mathematics, we are two students from the hostel and two from the day scholars. So totally we are four in strength. Same was the case with the BIPC group. There are three from the hostel and two from the outsiders. So BSc class students were around totally 9 or 10 people. The total BSc, that was the strength of the college. So if that might surprise many, but that's how we,
Yeah.
yeah, this is our team, or rather classmates. And if you see to the left of Swami, the extreme left person is Mr. Abhijit Ray. He is from Calcutta, and then next to is myself. And right side of Swami is Mr. Umama Ishwara. He is no more now. And next to him is Mr. K. Rajiv. And there's another gentleman, Miss Saina, there. So that gentleman also was missing, not in this next one. So so these are the 5 people from the BSc class. So if you look at that way, the classes were very, hardly 4 of my 5 members. So obviously the attention of lecturers was fully on to you. Second best thing is, around 11 o'clock, Swami completes his interviews. He wouldn't know what to do in Vrindavan building. He would quietly walk into the college corridors. And this is the one. And Sainath is the one who is kneeling down there. So
Sorry, this one.
Swami, yeah, this one.
Mm.
Sainath here is the one who is kneeling down there. And this was a photograph of our final year students when I think in our third year or so. That's why Swami is garland and all.
Final year students.
So Swami used to walk into our college corridors and get into one of the classes, and 4 students or 5 students, happy, settled down. Lecturer is happy that Swami has come, and for them it's a great opportunity. Of course, hostelites at least we could go in, but day scholars generally do not indulge in going into come into the buildings and things like that. So they and the lecturers, all of them, it's a great opportunity to interact with Swami. So one of the beautiful things that has happened with this, small number group activities.
Yes. So I know you have been with your parents to Puttaparthi and interacted with Swami as a devotee, and you had interviews and all that. But when you join as a student, obviously there is a different feel. So what was your first interaction with Bhagwan and first impression after you became a student?
Well, I think one thing I must say is always I used to wonder in this hostel why people are so serious. So studious is fine, but why so serious? No one talks, no one smiles, no one. I mean, they're busy. 4:30 get up, Suprabhatam, all that, and evening bhajans. All that is fine, but they never used to interact much and not freely. There's always I perceived a type of tension in the air. So I happened to ask one of my seniors that time, saying, "Why is that all of you are so serious and why attention? Is that a rule? Is that the norm?" He said, "No, it's not that. But Swami doesn't like people talking too much, indulging in talking too much, indulging in building up unwanted relationships amongst ourselves. and therefore each one to learn to live on in your own ways, like reading and books and things like that. So with that background, I was wondering what could be really the expectation of Swami's expectations on students was a new thing for me, because again it's a learning process for me. So during that period, and one of them told me Swami is presently is very unhappy with the boys. I said, in spite of all this, he's unhappy. I couldn't believe, because boys were so disciplined, so well conducted, very cultured. I mean, the way they conduct themselves is very, very nice. And to see them, and you are someone like me. I always thought if I can become one like them, I'm okay having come this far to Vrindavan. That sort of a picture they have provided to me, and therefore I was wondering why Swami should be unhappy with these boys. And during that period, Swami is unhappy, and so therefore is angry with us. And Swami is angry with us is another thing which we don't. I didn't understand, because we know Swami happy, santosham, and that sort of a language, and nothing beyond. So, in spite of the crowds milling and falling on him, he still maintains a smile and enjoys, talk, loves people. So Swami angry with the boys, which is another thing which did not sit properly with me. So one evening, suddenly they said, no, the Swami's letter has come. So Professor Sundara will read it after bhajan. So again, inquisitiveness. So what would Swami have written? Let us see. So along with others, after bhajan, you sit there. So Professor Sundara came up. He read the letter. The gist of it in general is that Swami is unhappy with the way boys are conducting themselves. They should, more disciplined. They should conduct to be befittingly of Swami's image, Swami's expectations, all that. The starting point of my life is in the last paragraph, where it starts with, in the newcomers, in the newcomers, someone like Raman Rao's son, all are talking too much, so let them. They should please advise them not to do that. That sort of a language. I was shocked. Raman Rao's son is me, so I said. Whosoever has told him, he could have told my name also. I mean, it doesn't make a difference actually. But then that's how I was. First impression I had was, who would have told Swami about me? And what is that I did, that I talked too much, that Swami is, reprimanding me before all these people. So all these are the, conflicting thoughts which I had in my mind. Then I was wondering
Yeah,
what I should do.
your mic is rubbing, I think, to your shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. All these
Yeah.
thoughts were in my mind, and I didn't know how to react to it. But due credit to all my seniors, they never gave any thought about looking down upon you and or blame game and nothing like that. Everyone left it at that, because everyone knew probably by then they all must have gone through that experience in one way or the other. We wouldn't know. Honestly, we will not know. So none of them said that. I didn't know whom to approach, how to ask, and what is wrong with me is what I should know. And what is that Swami means by don't talk too much? What is too much? These are all the thoughts which were in my mind. And one evening when I met Professor Sundarrao, he used to go for a stroll in front of Sai Ram shed always evenings. Very pleasant evenings we used to have. So in that, when he was walking, I went and stood in front of him. Then he said, "You come. I wanted to speak to you." Then he put his hand on my shoulder and he took me for a walk along with him. Slow walk. While doing that, he started asking me, "So what is that you have done that to have Swami comment on like that? Do you have an idea?" I said, "No, I don't have an idea." So what do you think has gone wrong? He was trying to make me answer those questions. Honestly, I did not have answers. So to cut the whole thing short, then he told me, "See, Swami's expectations are that you are here for Swami, therefore you must conduct. Your focus should be only Swami and no one else." And that obviously means you cut down your discussions and unwanted talks with each other, and focus on what is important to you, what is a development for you, and things like that. So towards the end, he said one more thing. He said, this is one way of looking at it. The other side is, why do you think Swami chose your name in the letter exclusively? Don't you think it's in a way Swami is sending his blessings to you? So if you view it that way, you see how nice you feel about it. When to hear that, it was very pleasant, but then you're going through a grill there. That time it was painful, to be honest. But then he was very nice. He said, "Don't worry, Swami will take care. He'll normally, when he forgives you, don't worry. Please, continue your prayers and things like that." It ended there. After a couple of weeks, Swami came to Vrindavan. He came for only 2 days, and as if to bless people, forgive students, and go back, because Dasra was coming, and he was very busy with those construction activities and all that. So during that period, he came one day, and all the students started running behind the car. So I was wondering why people are running behind, and how, something which is new to me. So they said, "Come, come, come! We can go into bungalow with where Swami is there. So come." I also went along with all the newcomers, maybe 10, 12 of us. And by then, Swami has gone off, and everyone said Swami didn't look at us, Swami didn't see. These are the new things. Swami did not look at us, Swami did not see. Is a usual happening in Prashantanay when you go there. Every day you go there, he is not looking at you. Sometimes he looks at you, but somehow you are used to having his darshan than anything else. So
Then giving darshan.
then honestly, I mean, it did not appeal to me saying, what are they saying? I didn't understand. Swami didn't look at us. Swami. Next day morning, it so happened that Swami came down, and in the safe room, all the students, went down on their knees and held on to Swami's feet and started crying. Swami, please forgive us, and things like that. So I was watching that, seeing some of the seniors crying. I was wondering why. I mean, what is that triggered so much of an emotion in a person? It's basically, in spite of being reprimanded, I still have not shed a tear at that time. So I was wondering what is that triggered such an emotion for these boys. And then Swami later, after half an hour of this and that talk, when he said, "Okay, henceforth, now onwards, at least behave yourself, be good," and all that, and all of them took namaskar. So that was the time I also took namaskar. He didn't say anything. He looked at me and he didn't say anything. I thought the chapter got closed. Then Swami, while going, that evening he left, in fact. So come to think of it, if you look back, it looks like Swami came only for forgiving these boys and going back. Honestly, because in the morning he went up, afternoon he came down, gave darshan, and gave darshan and all that. And then again he went back. Next day morning, the boys fell at his feet and asked for pardon. Then he moved, and by afternoon, post lunch, he left. So that is everyone's. Swami came only for us, so that sort of a feeling. So, and then next Swami gave us permission to come to Prashanti Nilayam for Dasra. Again, Dasra I have seen as part of the whole thing. Now, as students, if you go, how it would be is again a novel experience, I must say. Though I did not get any direct interactive opportunities. I could see some of my seniors being called by Swami for packing dhotis, packing those saris, and those distributions used to go on those days. Swami used to distribute for Sevadal people and all that. So all these boys were involved in those. Some of the newcomers also Swami picked up during that time, and that was everyone was saying that is an opportunity. And then onwards, really it was a good time for the boys. So Swami is there. From then, the exclusive place in the hall became a part of the norm. So those days, where Purnachandra, before Purnachandra and auditorium time, that shed used to be there. It is a big shed, and you go and sit there. So for students, without anyone saying, some people used to leave some space. So students used to go and sit there. Now that became a norm by itself. But then Swami used to walk around and come and play, walk around among the students and talking to them. That's the first time I've seen Swami happily interacting with students, and all students smile, full smiles and things like that. It is so beautiful. We know that now. That's a regular thing what we notice, we understand, and we've experienced. And that's my first experience, that Swami's interaction with students. Post that, quickly, my parents were leaving Prashant Nilayam after Dasra. Swami called for an interview. We used to see them all as a regular feature. Those days, all the devotees used to do that. So that time, I asked my father, "Can I also come?" He said, "Given the current circumstances, I don't know. Come there. Swami permits you, come inside," he said. So I stood there and Swami said, come. So I went in, and then towards the end of that talk in the interview room, when I was taking namaskar and Swami was giving prasadam, he held on my hand and called my mother and said, "This you have sent this boy to Vrindavan to be with Swami, to spend time with Swami. Now, this boy goes around and trying to make unwanted friendships, unnecessary
Oh,
relationships. So that is why I reprimanded him. So no, now onwards
oh,
he'll be good." He gave an explanation to my mother, because obviously parents are little pained about the whole activity. And then while coming, all of them are coming out, he held me back for a moment, and then I said, don't indulge in unnecessary talk. Your focus should be Swami. You have come for Swami, and Swami will take care of you. And small things and a couple of names, and say, don't go near them. You be good. So you think you are two steps ahead of those two, three names, but it's not necessarily so. That's what you learn later, because no one is bad there from that point of view. Otherwise, they won't be there. And then it's
yeah. It's
Swami's way
just
of
that
saying,
we are not equatable to others in that. Your focus should be on Swami.
correct. So suddenly he'll say,
Yeah.
don't go and mix with that boy. So you be aloof, stay away. Next day morning, you will see Swami either taking him in a car or calling him for an interview. So you'll be wondering whether whom is he protecting from whom. so, so, so ideally, no judgments, accept Swami's word as he says,
Yeah.
and move forward. And looking back, honestly, 50 years after that, where are those relationships? Ultimately, the only
Yes,
relationship with we all survived is Swami and us,
Swami. That's true.
and that is what prevailed. So, I mean, it's always an hindsight that we learn that what Swami said is right, but that we call ourselves. I mean, that we call it an experience, but then that's how it is. And then onwards, I have seen Vrindavan. Swami's presence in Vrindavan is something euphoric, a perfect state of happiness always. With Swami around, Swami happy with the boys. Come from Prashant, come. Swami used to come darshan in Sai Ram Shed, walk into the hostel, and walk into the hostel. Same simple dining hall. In that, he used to small chair is squeezed. Either he'll sit in that, or he'll stand with one foot on top of that, or he'll take someone's support and jump up and sit on the table there with the kadapa slabs. And then whatever snacks boys used to prepare. See, I mean, restaurant, you can imagine how beautiful it would be. After all that 1.5 hours of time, Swami would say, come, let's go. Again, all these boys will run to Vrindavan main building. There in the hall, again, we will settle down. Swami sits on his, to his right, there are VIPs, all the elders of the Vrindavan, they'll come and sit.
I
And then,
believe he used to first come to hostel after darshan and spend an hour with you all, maybe have snacks or whatever. Then you all would walk back as if like dropping Swami to Bangalore, and
yes,
there you will have another session with Swami with
yes,
all the devotees and everybody. So,
yes.
so what a
Well, that
beautiful evening, eh?
wonderful. I mean, your evening is filled from 4 o'clock to till Swami goes upstairs. Sometimes he does this, sometimes he does something. All those things he'll go, and then he retires. Till such time you're hanging around the building, and happy moments, and
And I believe he
no
made
big.
everybody sing and all that, right?
It's those evenings are they are worth mentioning. I mean, every evening is by itself are unique. Either he'll sing and he'll make others sing, or he'll make the students sing, or some dignitaries like M.S. Subbulakshmi or P. Sushila, or someone would be coming. He'll make them all sing for you, or some elders like the senior members and elders and VIPs, dignitaries would come. Swami will make them speak to you, address students, or sometimes he'll make the students speak so that there's some people understand what a caliber of students these are. And and sometimes Swami settles down to talk about various aspects. Sometimes he's many a time, I think a couple of times at least, he spoke about his own story, right from his childhood to what has
That
happened,
would
how
be
it's
beautiful,
happened.
eh? That would be
Wonderful.
beautiful.
They're all beautiful. And then a couple of times he also talked about Shirdi Sai. Again, whole See, those evenings can only be experienced. Really speaking, you can't really explain much because language will be a limitation to express the happiness that each one would be probably enjoying there. So those were the Vrindavan days for us. So therefore,
Beautiful.
Vrindavan is Vrindavan for all all those old timers. Of course, now the name and the building has changed, but our hearts
Yeah.
are all linked to the foundation of Vrindavan there
Foundation.
itself, and those walls, yes.
I know people used to have that terminology like safe room sessions, and then it became tray sessions. It
Yeah.
just the
So
naming.
that safe room is another beautiful place. It's a university by itself for us. The Swami will meander around all those people. Suddenly, he'll walk into the safe room. Safe room, believe me, is an exclusive boys' room, and no one else would come in there except boys. Boys. All 30, 40 are squeezed into that small room, and Swami happily, in spite of the congestion, is happily there. Some 10 students, at his Lotus Feet, doing Padaseva and all those. And the talk goes on, and so many things. There itself, Swami would distribute sweets. Swami, if someone has to be pulled up, Swami would do that there itself before all. I mean, there's no individual existence there. You are wrong, you are wrong. And that's a lesson for all the people. You see, if I am corrected in privacy, others would not know that this is not acceptable to Swami. So therefore, it is done in public. And so people would just accept it and enjoy it and relish it.
Beautiful. Okay, let me give you another topic to share something. I know you had afterwards, when you have time, Swami would take you out for many trips. So one place was Bandipur Forest. So I believe you all had very good opportunities to travel with Swami and do a lot of leelas there. So if you can
Uh,
share something from that.
the first year of our stay during that means in the May we have joined, and then the coming February March is the Shivratri time. And suddenly Swami came to Vrindavan. He was around, and people were wondering when Swami would be going back to Prashant Nilayam, because by then all the devotees will slowly moving towards Prashant Nilayam for witnessing Swami's Lingotbhavam and all those. And that was the time suddenly Swami decided that he'll take all the boys to Bandipur forest. And a bus was arranged, and all the boys were in the bus. Swami's car and a couple of other cars who normally, follow Swami's car and to rush, and of course some devotees whom Swami permit, their cars will follow. So it's a big this thing caravan which would be going, which went there that time. So it so happened that somewhere in between there was a break for food, snacks, and so on. Then all the boys, as usual, they get down and they go around Swami. They forget about snacks and more about milling around Swami at that stage also. Swami said, eat fast, get into the bus. So because it's Swami who said that, and they all slowly, everyone started moving into the bus. Then Swami said, I'll come in the bus. Then he came and joined us in the bus. And of course, bhajans were going on, and Swami moved around the one seat, and everyone is ready to give their seat for Swami, no doubt about it. It's the Swami slowly moved into the center of the bus, so all around people, boys could stand around him and sing bhajans, and it went for some time, and then suddenly before we reached Mysore or so, he said stop. He got down, got into his car, because
So he
subsequently
stood he stood all the way.
he stood all the way. And he, one foot on the one folded leg on the one seat and holding another armrest of something. Just standing, everyone is standing around Swami singing bhajans. Well, if he wants to make things lively, he would go any extent. I mean, there's no limit for Bhagwan. So obviously,
Beautiful.
so that and later he moved into his car, and then we went to Bandipur. And Bandipur, there they found a rivulet and sands associated with that. So that evening, all of us were driven there. The buses could go one to some extent, and later you need to walk. to make sure that everyone is safe. Petromax lights were taken, and torch lights were taken. And while going, I think our bus lights have failed. So Swami said, "Don't worry, you follow Swami's car. Swami's car headlights, other car lights, and all those lights. This bus was driven through the forest, and then, of course, in the place there we went. And so again, Swami sat around all, and bhajans were sung. Then Swami, from the sands he took out a lingam. He put it on a torch and shown it like this to everyone. Things like that, and what he has pulled out, created or given that time are a matter of interest. But more important is that you were fortunate enough to participate in that small crowd during that period.
Yeah,
That is
let
one.
me
That
share
was
this.
the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let
go
me
ahead.
share these pictures for all of you. Just so I think these are one
The
of those walk.
ah, these are one of these. This is one of those walks walking across. You could see Swami talking, and with a towel on his shoulder. You can see that towel on his shoulder and walking across. This en road you stop, and like anyone else, he picks up his plate, and he was having his food along with us.
This is such an
And
amazing photograph because I find it so informal and like one amongst you guys.
yes,
So you didn't give him a proper seat to sit and eat and all that, or he just picked up his plate.
yeah, someone is, of course, all the with all reverence. Someone like Mrs. Ratanlal would be doing the rest of the preparation, making a plate. Swami would just go and pick up the plate, and that's it. Once it is done, no one is around. You see, then Swami allows Swami to have. One must be standing there holding some plates to serve and things like that. But then that is how it is. This
This
is
photograph is very
another.
interesting.
This is very interesting. Yes, you could, all those people whom you see, the topmost person who's holding with both the hands there is Anup Jalani. Next to him, Radha Krishna. Next to him is Devanand. Down is Kamal Sahani. Then Jayaraman. This is the same. I mean, basically, yeah. So beautiful.
Like I
Such.
always used to wonder when I've seen Swami climb mountains in his long robe. It was so difficult to even imagine how he would run faster than us. And here you see him climb a tree with this. So beautiful.
So beautiful.
Okay, brother. So let's
So,
continue this journey of.
so being a student that way. So what happens is, Swami's grace is shown on everyone equally. That one thing we must accept, because it's not that someone is close and someone is closer and someone is not so close. It's never that. It's a question of, if you look back, and if later days when I met couple of people, those students used to tell me, during that time Swami gave me this, made me do this, Swami, I used to clean Swami's rooms. We didn't know. Each one was, Swami's way of making sure that he's connected, and people got their opportunities. Swami, talked to them in his own way. It's not necessary that in the presence of everyone he should be doing it. If I may quote a small analogy to it, if you see a Krishna Rasa Leela picture
Hmm.
anywhere, every gopika in a trance will be dancing with only thought of Krishna around. That Krishna is exclusively with her, and when they open the eyes, they find Krishna, they are happy. And Sahasra Sirsha Purusha, they say, so he's there with everyone that way. How he finds time, how he does that is his own way of doing it. So all that we need to do is Swami and me. And that's it. If we are able to enjoy that without worrying at what he is doing to others, what others are doing, Swami, it is no concern of ours. So therefore, all of us probably, the more we enjoy, because the more you imbibe what Swami wants to give it to you. The more you desire, the more he gives. The more, then only thing is the deservedness is what we need to develop. That repeatedly Swami says, such deservedness, that praptam is to call. That prapti is can be developed and improved only by devotion and devotion and faith in him. And that is what ultimately all of us have to do it, and that is what he doesn't require anything from us. None of us have given anything in action or in substance, but
True.
nevertheless he has given us so much. And today, with so many, after 50 years, even now when you talk about it, so much of a happiness and thrill, it is his grace. And if we are able to enjoy that experience, what else can we ask for? And how much more can you ask for?
He would say that, no,
So,
today you are coming to interview room and you're enjoying it. Tomorrow, when you close your eyes, the interview room should be in your heart, and you will
correct,
derive the similar joy again.
correct.
So
I'll give you.
let me take
No,
you to
I'll
your
just.
Ooty trip. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Before
Anything
that,
else?
I'll
So
give
please.
one small analogy. Once,
Yes,
the because you said take Swami in your heart. He gave us one in the hostel. One room was made for dhyanam, so it called meditation room.
meditation room.
So
Okay.
well prepared and all that. When someone Swami's chair and a big Swami's photo, and you do the rest of the paraphernalia, physical things all set, well set, and someone donated a tape recorder, and someone given a cassette set of instrumental music so you can play there while you meditate. So someone said, Swami, we started a meditation room. Swami should come, and Swami came there. Then he just looked at around and he said, "What is meditation?" He asked. Obviously, we are waiting for Swami to tell us. Swami said, "Do you know what is meditation? First is concentration, then is contemplation, third is meditation. Concentration is when you look at a picture and say Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, and the picture, then that is imprinted in your mind. The next will be contemplation. When you think of Sai Ram, the picture will come into the picture, into your mind. To your point, carry Swami in you is what probably he was meaning to
Contemplation. To the
contemplation.
contemplation part of it.
Wherever you are there, say Sai Ram, and you should be able to visualize the picture of Swami in your present in your mind, and that is contemplation. And the next stage is together the focus and the contemplation together. You sit in a place and you think of God that time. That's a true meditation when your mind and the thoughts, everything is focused only on one. The name and on the form both to come together for you, and that is where you focus. That is meditation. That stage is meditation. So therefore, the loosely wording meditation, he would say concentration, contemplation, meditation. He repeatedly is to tell us. Similarly,
Lovely.
I would in the initial stages of Vrindavan days, the one of the greatest lessons that he used to repeatedly say is your relationship amongst yourself should be hello, hello, how are you, goodbye, goodbye. Hello, hello is because you are part of the social structure. You got to be part of the group. How are you is the courtesies that you need to be respectful to each other. Goodbye, goodbye. Don't have to have any more contact than that. And this is the mantra. If all of us have to really follow, and we know where what it would lead us to. So there, obviously, your focus is going to be the only one. That is Swami.
I think, brother, it has remained that way, at least to my time also, because most of us knew each other, we cared for each other, but somehow we never knew anybody more than required, Like I would need not know the background of the person who's coming from, what their parents did, how many siblings they have. All that was not known to us in a direct inquiry. If you get to know through some activity or something, then it's different. But there was no attempt for anybody to find out, and that's how we all have grown. And it's very strange that Swami initiated that seed even from the beginning itself. That's what he
Yes,
expected. So it is sometimes for a person who does not know, that it becomes a little challenging to accept.
accept. But in retrospect, if you look back, it wouldn't have added any value to your knowledge of knowing about that
Yes.
man beyond that,
Yes,
because
certainly not.
we are never in contact with them forever after that.
It actually becomes an
So
emotional burden to know
it's
anybody
emotional
more
burden.
than that.
Therefore, and also it'll get distracted. Your focus is supposed to be on something. When you're getting distracted, is what probably Swami meant for all of us. Therefore, keep your focus on Swami, and that
So
is
let
what
me remind
probably he
you of
meant.
that how he would make you all give you an incentive to do some good work. I
Hmm.
remember you had some. He said, "I'll give you an incentive if you get first grade."
That happened once. I think when we were in final year, Swami.
Uh,
Once suddenly, what happened was suddenly at 8 o'clock in the morning, Swami left from Vrindavan. And till
hmm.
evening, he was so happy with us. And the morning 8:30, all of us used to go around 6:30, 7 o'clock, hang around the building. It's a normal. Swami used to wave from the window sometimes, or from there you go and have your food. Small things. So everyone hangs around that the building around. So 8:30, Swami's car came, and 8:45, Swami left. And before half the people could realize, Swami left for Parthi. No one knew what's happening, why Swami has left, and what is the reason. And except speculation, nothing else is there. After when all of us were really wondering what is happening and went back to hostel, suddenly we heard the car horn, and Swami's car came back. Everyone ran and into the building, and as usual. Then Swami said, no, I had to go back. I forgot the keys of the mandir. So I come back for my keys. I had to go back. Then everyone fell at his feet, and Swami, don't go, please don't go, please don't go, and all that. Swami said, no. Professor Narendra told me, if I am around, you people are not studying well. You are neglecting your studies, so that's why I thought I should go. I said, no, all of us promised, no, Swami will study well. No, Swami, don't go. Swami, don't go, and all that. And finally, Swami said, okay, study well. And immediately Swami, having stayed, Swami should come for dinner tonight to the hostel. Swami said, you will never learn. That is what I'm saying. Don't. And immediately, but he came. He came for the dinner and the hostel and all that. But that set the foundation for a talk. Like later, Swami used to talk about, no, you people must study well. You must do well. Your parents sent you here. He repeatedly used to say. And finally, one day he said, those who get first class, I'll take you to Uti. That was the incentive, he said. Obviously, people are all excited, students all excited, and they're all focusing on studies and things like that. And it so happened that after the exams, I had the opportunity of accompanying Swami to Prashant Nilayam. I was at the door.
Hmm.
So during those days, and finally our results came, and I didn't get my first class. Swami looked at me and said, why didn't you study? I told you to study and all that. Swami, over. And then, post a couple of days later, Swami returned to Vrindavan. The lists were made. Those who got the first classes, Swami will be taking them, who will be accompanying Swami to Uti and all that. So Swami also, during that 1 or 2 days, during that time, he was looking at others and said, I told you to study, you didn't study, you see, you miss an opportunity. Like that, he was chiding some people, and small way, so that they don't feel bad about not going with Swami. Typical. And all that happened, and the day was fixed. So it so happened that Swami normally leaves for Ooty around 4:30 in the morning, and reaches the Ooty by evening. So therefore, at 4 o'clock, we were all ready at Swami's bungalow, waiting for Swami to, come down. We can have darshan, and Aarti is given, and then Swami moves. So when we see in the day room 1 to room 2, Swami's light is on, that means Swami will be coming down any moment now. And that was the time when I was standing and watching there, and for a moment, I was thinking, the last 25, 30 days, I had a wonderful time with Swami, such beautiful time. If only I studied well, it would have continued. I would have had this opportunity, sort of a thing, if only I studied well. Then suddenly someone tapped me on this, and I looked at Dr. Lakshmi Narasimhan saying, you are here. Swami asked you to pack your bag and put in the second car. And in the next few minutes, I didn't know when I ran to the hostel, what happened, what I packed, what I didn't pack. Nothing is known, and the suitcase and me huffing and puffing. We ran. I ran. I was in the second car. Put my luggage in the car, and the moment I reached, and the Swami's car started moving, and I was in time for the second car, and I moved along with Swami. Then the cars moved forward, and somewhere after 15-20 minutes of drive, cars stopped. Some rearrangement was to be made because the car in which I was sitting, it became little tight. The three people would have been there. I was extra one there, so obviously the extra luggage was causing a problem there. And I mean, that was how we are trying to adjust ourselves. No one complains, of course, but I'm just telling you. Then Swami's car stopped, and suddenly someone came and said, Swami is calling Sagar to come into the car. So I ran to sit in Swami's, went in. So Swami said, sit in the front. So Mr. Radhakrishna was driving the car. I was in the center of the center, and next to me was one Shankar Barua. The Swami and a couple of others in the back. And the cars moved. Just then the cars moved, and it's darkness behind, and except the headlights of the car behind it. Then Swami from behind, he says, if only I studied well, he told me, and he patted me on my shoulder like that. And it was then it really came to my mind, saying that I am in Swami's car now. I have this opportunity of I'm traveling with Swami, and all those things came up because last half an hour I didn't know what was happening. The way the whole thing happened in a flash. So immediately, I turned back to touch his feet, and therefore in the car you could only turn this much. So I turned to touch his feet, and I could touch his knees. Then he tapped my hands like this, and he said, "Who are these universities and colleges to tell me? I have given you the first class, therefore I'm taking you." So that's how I passed my degree. That's how I passed my degree in first class. So ultimately that's what is the incentive which I was talking to you about.
That was beautiful, beautiful.
It's his grace,
In the
nothing
same
more.
strain, if you can tell the story about your summer course trip to Uti, when Bhagwan decided to do the summer course in Uti, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
1976.
1976. 1976.
Yes.
See, summer course was fast approaching, and Dr. Gokak was the key coordinator always, as always. He was trying to build up the whole scenario for the next summer course. And one day, Swami suddenly in the safe room, he said, Gokak, this year we'll have summer course in Uti. So obviously, all students were very happy, and because it means every one of us will be going there. Then Dr. Gokak, next step was, so whom do we call? Because those days, outside students were included in summer courses. Whereas Swami said, no, 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 this time summer course only our students. So Brindavan College, Anantapur College, and Bhopal College students only will attend. And therefore, the lists were made accordingly. Then the next step Dr. Gokak was looking for is who are the guests or the invitees or the lecturers whom should be invited. That time Swami said, this time all the lectures will be conducted by our own students of all these colleges. And that's a real surprise. And then Swami said, see, the people who have attended 3 summer courses will be given a diploma. Then I said, I'm one of those who have attended these 3 summer courses. Then I said, with a degree, 1 diploma free sort of a situation. So I was happy. Amongst me, like me, others also happy that 3 summer courses who have attended, they'll get a diploma in such high education. So then Swami, next thing what Swami said is, these boys who have attended 3 summer courses should be able to convey to the others what they have learnt in summer course. So each one of them should give 1 hour lecture to qualify themselves for the diploma. This is what Swami said. And people like me, I think I for one, have ticked off the diploma from my list and said, I'm happy if Swami can take me, he will take me to Uti. I'm happy with that. Because, standing in front of all the students and taking a serious topic on spiritual aspects and talking about them, they are stalwarts, no doubt about it. Amongst the student group, There are people who would love to do it, and there are there. I wonder why Swami had to pick up on people like me also in that, and it becomes a problem for people like me. So then Swami said, okay, make a list of the students who have attended these three summer courses. So all the names came. My name also has appeared in that. And every day, Swami, he said, okay, each one of you come with a topic. People have given their lists, their topics. One Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, someone in Bhagavad Gita, someone is Krishna Leelas of Bhagavatam. Someone said about Bhagavad, other Vedangas and Indian cultures, spirituality, Swami Vivekananda. I mean, you name them, everyone coming happily with so many such wonderful topics. I mean, you see the greatness about the students and the way they got groomed themselves. So Swami was happy. Okay, you write this, you like this way. That's an opportunity for the student to get the direct messages from Swami. And then Swami said, each one of you prepare your speech, come and read in front of me in the afternoons, then we'll hear it out. That's a trial. So Dr. Gokak and all the elders used to be sitting there, but the student would pick up his notes, what he has prepared. He'll talk, Swami, my topic is today Bhagavad Gita, and he'll read he'll talk whatever he wants, he has written about it. Then Swami will take over from there and talk about Bhagavad Gita. What is the purpose, where, what? I mean, you can see any number. I mean, I remember the lessons of Bhagavad Gita in so many ways. So if you see, the whole Bhagavad Gita is again retold to the students in a smaller way, a chinna kada, like small things. Swami would tell people. Next day is another man who would talk about Puranas. Someone is talking about various topics like this. But during this period, every day, whenever I used to go in front of him, he would say, what happened? What is the topic you have picked up? What are you talking about? And then, Swami, I used to fold and say, Swami, not me. I'm not capable of speaking in public. Swami said, no way. All the students who have participated in this should speak. So this thing used to go on. A day would come and sometimes I hide myself because I couldn't face Swami. I couldn't face Swami and couldn't say no so many times to Swami. At the same time, it's beyond me. I know for sure it's beyond me to stand in front of all those people and speak. And so much so that one fine day he pulled me up before all the others and said, if you do not do it, what's the meaning in you attending these summer courses and learning so many things if you don't share, partake with others? Everything of that. And he was very angry with me. I was also upset that I could not measure up to Swami's expectations, no doubt about it. But my limitations are my limitations. My limitations. So that next 8-10 days, Swami didn't look at me, didn't talk to me, but the others prepared. Every day it was a topic used to go on, and it's a beautiful thing. Every evening, 3:30 to 6 o'clock, the session was with Swami. Someone prepared the topic, and Swami would be talking about. Swami would be, discoursing over and above that, and then that gives an extra flavor to the boys to add points to their, speeches that they have prepared. And the final day has come, and Swami, the people were ready to leave for Ooty. Fortunate I was that I also found myself in one of the cars that time. So the cars, everything moved, and somewhere in between, for us, again, there was a stop for snacks. And that time, there was on the roadside, like you have seen Swami standing and eating, like that he was standing one day. There he saw a big plantain, the coconut tree, a big branch lying there.
A branch.
So, coconut branch. So he was looking around, I was there. He looked at me and said, go and pick 2 leaves and bring. So, after 10 days, he's looking at me. And then I ran down and picked up and, cleaned them, given it, handed over to him. So he did some whipping like this and said, go and sit in the car, he said. So that was the first thing that I went and stood behind next to Swami's car. And while coming near the car, Swami said, sit at the back. So I was sitting next to Swami the rest of the journey at that time. So the best part is from that moment onward, Swami, the coconut leaf, Swami really stripped into small strips beautifully. and then started weaving them one over the other, interlacing them with each other. And it slowly, it turned out to be, at a later stage when you see, it turned out to be a beautiful picture of a deer. While doing that, Swami normally sits and, while he either asks people to sing bhajans, or he himself sings quite a lot of bhajans, and so many Tyagaraja Kritis and all that he used to sing regularly, continuously. And then at one stage, suddenly he stopped and said, there's one Tyagaraja Kriti which says, give me the opportunity, like, to be like a Bantu, like a servant to you, Rama. That is, he asked, who is that Bantu? I said, Swami Hanuman. You see, after 10 days, Swami is talking to me, and I was sitting next to Swami. Therefore, I was very, very, emotional at that moment, I would say. And who is Ram Bantu? Is Ram Bantu is Hanuman. What is Hanuman? Hanumantudu, Gunamantudu, Balavantudu. All that he started saying, and then he started talking about Hanuman, saying that Hanuman with so much of a knowledge, so much of a strength, everything. In spite of that, he had the humility to conduct himself as a servant to Rama. And then he started talking about the Ramayana. The Ramayana, he said, the Ramayana is one place where you find all types of devotion, devotees in Ramayana, like Vibhishan, Shabari, Guha, and everyone. Like he named like that continuously, Lakshmana and all those people. At that time, suddenly he stopped and said, "What is Navaveda Bhakti?" So all of us in the car started saying Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, all that. Then Swami said, for each of these, you find an example in Ramayana. And he started linking one name to one of these each aspects of bhakti. And it turned out to be almost a 1.5 hours of speech Swami was talking
Beautiful.
about. Yeah, it's continuous. Swami on Ramayana and all those, and so many things that it comes off automatically for him. And each one linking it to them, and sometimes sing some bhajans out of it, and all that was happening. At the end of it, he said, he looked at me and said, Emra, Ardhamainda? He asked, did you understand?
Did you understand?
I said, yes, Swami. What did you understand? Tell me. Em Ardhamainda Chappu? Yes. And having heard Swami talking about Navaveda Bhakti and the examples and all, I started. Then while telling, he started saying, Inka emundi, Inka em cheppam, and all that. What else? So you keep on telling whatever, thinking what Swami told, and you keep on adding to it and all that. At the end of it, he said, Manchidi. So, idi nuvu cheppu. So this you tell in the summer course. This is what he meant, saying, idi nuvu cheppu. So you can't say anything. By then, his hand was moving so much that he wove a beautiful, picture. He moved a small this thing of a deer.
Yeah, I'll show that. I think I'll show that. That's a wonderful thing. Yes.
Yeah, if you enlarge it, you will know how intricate it is in terms of weaving it. The on top of the student word, that is the starting point of a leaf. From there, he slit those four strands and interwove them so beautifully. And
this is really amazing. Amazing it is.
Yes. You see how intricate it is. And all this very casually, while talking to us about this Ramayana and Navaveda Bhakti, he has interwoven this like this. And, it's such a beautiful. So we only know the Swami's wave of hand. This is a wave of hand, I would say. So beautifully
beautiful.
done.
It is so amazing. What a deer.
What a deer.
Wow.
So that because Swami gave it to me, what I had to do is, because the ends are loose. So before anyone could pull it, I thought I should preserve it in that. So I put it in the badge that was given to us as a student. I put it in that, and it fitted in. So I left it as it is, because after that to pull it out will be very difficult. That was a student badge that I had, which I put it in that. And you see this. This is what he made that time. And
Beautiful.
dear in Telugu they call it lady. Again, lady in English is lady. So he was saying, Sita looked for this lady. Her kamam for this golden deer, and she lost Rama. Because of the kama for golden deer, she lost Rama. So he gave that deer to me and said, because of the lady, don't lose Sai, Swami. And,
Oh,
so it's a a small pun he used there, the
yeah.
word lady, and yeah, that was the backdrop, and rest is what we call is his grace that whole thing went off well, and we landed in for lunch at that time at Bandipur. Swami goes straight to Mr. Dr. Gokak and says he's ready with his topic, and he just left and he said that and went. Dr. Gokak was glorying at me and saying, last evening you told me you're not ready, and sort of a thing. But then they all know Swami, so then I went and told him, sir, Navavidya Bhakti in Ramayana is the topic. He was, for a moment, he was surprised that, such a new novel way of approaching Ramayana, talking about Ramayana. And to add to this, Swami doesn't let you go so easily. Dr. Hemalata is the Anantapur College principal. She is a scholar in Telugu. Her PhD was on Telugu, I believe, on Ramayana Kalpavuksham, on Ramayana.
Oh.
So
Okay.
the day we landed in that place, Uti, Swami called me and told her, tomorrow he'll tell you some new things in Ramayana. Listen. so you
Oh
can
God.
imagine, how many ways he'll fix you good, and
He'll trap you
and
there. Eh?
and on top of that,
Very good.
and on top of that, simple thing is that evening, generally Swami would retire after lunch and come back at 4 o'clock. So I had requested our people, please, mine is at 2:30 or so, when it's easier for me to. People are in generally half-dosed mood. And then that day, Swami asked me, what time is your speech? So I said, at 2 o'clock, Swami. He said, okay, and he went up. At 2 o'clock, he came down. And he came and sat. And on top of that, what he did was, normally for all summer courses, the Hyderabad Sevadal does the service, the serving and all that. My father would lead the team. So he called my father from that and made him sit next to him and, in front of me when the speech was going on. So
Oh God, that is the worst.
these are all the, icings on the whole thing, actually, you would say. And then that's his grace. So what happened, rest is, I got my diploma. That is the most important thing, I would say.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, it's all his grace. He switched it
Yeah.
on, he switched it off, and he has given it to me. So nothing
Now,
more, nothing less.
I believe you also had a chance to do room duty and door duty or something.
Yeah. Door duties were fortunately during somewhere, even when I was doing a BSc and subsequently when I was doing my law also. Both the times I had the great opportunity of being around with Swami, and Swami is called Radha Ramakrishna and me sometimes, and some other person and me. We all were given the opportunity of being at the door. It was a very, very great opportunity, I would say, because there's not a moment you're not working for Swami there. Every 2 minutes you're looking at it, doing something. Swami is coming, so you said things right. You come out and you wait for Swami to call you to bring prasadam. On high alert sort of a situation. On top of that, Swami would say, he gave me a few names like Kutum Rao, Chiranjeev Rao, Kasturi, all those names, and said, if these people come, you allow them come inside. Anyone else, come and ask Swami, and I'll tell you. So it so happened, and one afternoon we were sitting there. I was sitting in the Swami's door. You open, on the left side is the staircase, old Swami's building. So normal tendency is to sit on the staircase, because when the Swami says, hey, you will run. It's
You can
easy
run up.
to run up fast. At the same time, keep an eye on the door. both ways. So suddenly one gentleman opened the door, and came inside. The white starched dress and all that, and I just stood up, saying, looking at sir, what do you want, sort of a thing. He said, who is there upstairs? I told him, Mr. Kudum Rao, Chiranjeev Rao, and all that. Okay. Then I said, okay, what? I stopped him and said, sir, what's your name?
Who are
I'll go
you?
and tell. I inform Swami, who are you? He looked at me and said, Janakramaya. He told me. I just said, please wait. I said, I went up. I went up to tell Swami in the afternoon. This was so. Our Swami's room had two leaves of the doors. One door is always bolted, the other half. So I was holding on to that so that someone does not barge in. And Swami was reading a newspaper, holding paper like this. So you can't, I was trying to draw his attention by making small noises, but so now Swami was not looking at me. In the meantime, this gentleman was coming up slowly. He was coming up, you can hear he was
Hear them.
starched white dress, so you can hear him coming up, generally. And almost he came behind me, and I couldn't hold back because, which is something which I was nervous about. So I said, Swami, Jankaramaya garu vacharu. I said in a loud tone. Swami
In
put his
English, it is
paper.
Swami Jankiramaya, Mr. Jankiramaya has come.
I said, Swami Jankaramaya garu has come. So Swami, like this, he put on, he said, ఎవరు? Who? He asked. He said, Swami
Yeah.
Janakaramaya garu. The moment I said Janakaramaya garu, he had such a beautiful smile. And when I look aside, all of them are smiling. Kutumrao garu, Raja Reddy garu, all of them are smiling, all smiles. And, Swami also looked at me saying, you stopped him? Something like that, By then, of course, Janakaramaya garu has come up. So I knew that nothing is wrong, so I moved aside, and Jankaramaya came inside. Then Swami looked at him and said, Hemi, he stopped you, he asked in Telugu. He didn't mind, he just smiled. So those people, they're all, they know the Swami, ways of Swami probably, they accept it as their norms. Then Swami, on my behalf, is saying, a new boy does not know. He's Raman Rao's son, studying in college, some introduction like this. Then he looked at me and said, do you know who he is? I said, no, Swami, I don't know. He is Central Trust member, Janikaramaya, he said. I said, Sairam, and I came down. After that, whatever has happened, and everyone left. And Swami, normally before Swami comes down, all of these people leave. So Swami came alone down. I was holding the door and waiting for Swami to come. Swami looked at me, again he smiled. Because, that whole thing was in my mind. Then I also smiled, saying, there's no thing. So Swami said, do you know who he is? I said, like this. He is this body's brother, he said. So I didn't know that Jankaramaya was Swami's brother.
Younger
So
brother.
that's
Yeah,
how
beautiful.
I didn't know. So I know nothing else. And subsequently also, Ms. Jankaramaya, number of times he has seen me and all that. Absolutely. They all seasoned people, Swami, they know how Swami plays around and what he does and things like that. So they accept it as a part of their. No one had shown any unwanted egos or angers or anything. But it's a great experience for me to understand.
Beautiful.
This is one of those things which you can remember.
Yeah. Let me fast forward you to after your graduation. So your story after graduation, how you got into LLB, that portion.
Okay, when my graduation was not a great success story in any case, as I mentioned to you. So therefore, I said no more studies. I shouldn't be really doing that thing, and therefore I was very keen that I will discontinue my studies. At that time, my father also had come to Vrindavan, and he asked me, "So what are your plans that you would do next?" I told him, since I'm not really doing well in studies, I wouldn't like to continue. But he was not in agreement. He said, no, something you must study. Why should you just give up education at this stage? But then he said, I leave it to you. Seek Swami's blessings and do what Swami tells you to do. And that's how he left. And next day or a third day, Swami looked at me and said, "What did your father say?" He asked me. I told him, "Nothing, Swami." "No, no. Didn't he ask you about your education?" He asked. I said, "Swami, I don't think I can pursue further education because not being very successful. So what's the big deal?" Swami said, "No, no, no. No one should waste time. You must study. Why don't you join law?" He said suddenly. Out of the blue, the law came. What is LLB? It was out of syllabus for me too. Everyone is talking about MSc, MA, MCom in the whole college groups. All these people were talking about those languages. LLB was never in the part of the total scheme of things. Out of the blue. Then, to my happiness or this thing, I had another reluctant friend in Radhakrishnan who was also not very keen to continue his education. But Swami said, looked at me and said, "You both go to law college and get yourself get admissions." And in order not to miss that, Swami called Colonel Jogara, who was going to city that time, to take them to law college and join them. He said. And Colonel Jogara said, "Come, we'll go by." And we were to go by his car. So both of us ended up in Jogara's car. Colonel Jogara was sitting in the front. Then we got into the car. He asked, "Where is this law college?" I say. Then I said, "I don't know, sir, because I never knew what is beyond Whitefield railway gate, because we never went to city or anything there, I said, "I don't know, sir." The Radhakrishna also said, even he does not know. Then he said, "What is this?" Swami said, "Go to law college and you people don't know where to go." Then he asked me,
Oh no. Your camera is frozen, bro. Brother Sagar, I think you may have to re-log in. I'm sorry, there is some technical issue, and I hope he will log in. And in the meantime, let me take you through some pictures which Brother Sagar has shared. Uh, this is actually the car in which all these stories have manifested with him. And this is also on the way to Bandipur forest. And MEO 4473 was the number
"Sorry,
which he carried.
this is what happened to me also."
And okay, Sagar brother, okay, he's getting ready, no problem. So that is the car. Actually, all the stories of travels and all have happened in this. This is a picture of all their batch in 1972 when they joined. This was the whole campus, I would say, which was there. So I think Brother Sagar is back. So sorry, I hope everything is fine. Brother Sagar? Uh, okay, so I think he's still fixing his internet. So this is the class, actually the whole batch of students which were there in 1972 in his area. And I personally won't recognize many. I can only see Naveen Patel brother here. And you can see the simplicity and the way the students would stay there. And that was a grace. Okay, I think he has come. Yes, brother, are you there?
I've, yeah, I've connected again.
Okay, good.
Even the new one seemed to be so. Okay. So that's how the driver has taken us to one law college.
Yes.
And that is known as University Law College next to Central College in Bangalore. And then when by the time we went, the office was in the first floor. So Radhakrishna, me were in our white and Hawaii chapel, rubbers, slippers, what you call. walked in nonchalantly into the office and looking around. And someone said, and this is the first floor, so Colonel Jogara was coming very slowly behind. So I went up first and said, "Sir, we want applications." So that man said, "No applications. Yesterday was the last date for applications." Then I said, "My God, Swami's grace." So I thought, the days are over, so I don't have to apply. And by then, Colonel Jogara came up. He said, then I told him, "Sir, application's last date is yesterday. It's over." He said, "No, no, no, no. How can it be over?" Swami said, you must join law college. So let's talk to the principal. And just then, seeing all this confusion, Colonel Jogara walking around and all of us and all that, the principal happened to come out. One Professor Bashir Hussain, he was the authority on international law. He was subsequently a lecturer. Very nice gentleman. So he looked at the two, alien group people and one Colonel Jogarao trying to, manage things. Then
Two boys
Colonel
in white
Jogara,
and sandal and slippers.
and, and Colonel Jogara straight away went to the principal and said, "They are from Satsai College. Swamiji has asked them to join law college. So we are looking for applications. They're not giving us," or something like that. He looked at and said, "Yesterday was the last date." I said, "Sir, we did not know. So, this is how it happened." Then he looked at the office and said, "Okay, you give them 2 applications." And that's how the applications were given to us. And next day morning, there was another gentleman by name Ramakrishna, whom Swami told when he was sitting, he saw him there and said, "Go join law." And he also came next day and we got him also on application. By then we became popular in that front. So we three of us sat, Swami was sitting, three of us sat, filled our application form under Swami's guidance, so to say. Name, all that, filled and all that. And Swami said, "Okay, one of you go and submit." So Ramakrishna and me were gone and submitted the applications. Then came one fine day, interview calls came. And then both of us, all three of us went and said, "Swami, they're calling for interview," and all that. Me telling Swami that someone else is calling for an interview. I am looking for an interview here. But then that's how it is. So Swami said, go, and he blessed all of us. We went for the interview. Fortunately, first was my name amongst the three of us. First was my name. I went in, and the three people. One is our principal. The another is one Mr. Gopal. He's a senior advocate in Karnataka High Court. And he was also a Hindu law professor. And there's another gentleman by name Mr. George Matthews or someone, who was our administrative law professor. All three of them are the panel members. All three of them were the panel members. So when I went in, I was wondering what they'll ask. And fortunately, the gentleman asked me the question, the questions for which I have answers. Like the first question he asked is, "So when did you join Sai Baba College?" I said, 3 years back. I did my 3 years back, sir. I did my science graduation there. "Oh, very good. Is Swamiji in town?" I said, "Yes, sir, he is in town." Okay, then he said, "How long will he be there?" That was a tough question. I couldn't answer. I said, "Don't know, sir. Normally, he has his own ways of doing. He would live." "Okay, you can join," he said. I mean, that was my
That was a
interview.
viva. That was a viva questions.
That was my viva. And the gentleman on the right, the Mr. George Matthews, he is a gentleman. He said, "Is white and white? Is that your uniform in your institution?" He asked. I said, "Yes, sir. We all generally wear. It's not a defined way, but we all generally wear white and white." "Oh, very nice." And that was my viva. And principal had nothing more to ask because by then we had our introduction by Colonel Jogarao. So that was done. So I came out saying that I am selected. Then Radha Krishna went in. And Radha Krishna didn't even have to answer those questions because they were already answered. So I think he came back right behind me. And that was also over. So both our names appeared in the first list of LLB, students list.
Admission list, yeah.
Admission list, and the Ramakrishna's list name came in the next list subsequently. The three of us have joined law college. And every morning, best part with law college is timings. The institute, college starts at 7:30 in the morning, ends at 10:30, 11 o'clock. By 11:30, 11:45, we're back in Vrindavan. And the whole day
So
is free.
sweet.
I mean, and everyone else in the college, three of us, of course, Radha Krishna was always with Swami. Both of us had the opportunity of hanging around, there. And Swami invariably would call us and say, okay, come and go with Swami, sit with him, and, small things like that. And it's always great time we had during the law college. And so that was the best thing that I gained in the law, to say the least.
That's
So,
beautiful. That's really beautiful.
and to
I
add
remember
to
you
the
mentioning something. Yeah, sorry. Please carry on.
pleasure of all this, in the first year of our law itself, Swami made us stitched black coats, and we all wore black coats in front of Swami and stood, and it was not a selfie life, so we none of us had any photographs. But then Swami was very pleased to see us in black coats,
I'm
advocates.
kind of intrigued. When did you wear that black coat? Where did you wear it for? Which occasion was that? Or
Last I
just like
wore
that?
one. I mean, that was when Swami got a stitch. We wore in front of him, took namaskaram. And next I wore was when I had to enroll in Karnataka High Court as an advocate. So that was the time
Oh,
you go in full attire. I wore that. Those are two occasions I wore that. I wore that thing. But that is Swami's way of looking at the holistically. Everything to be done. If it
yeah.
means
It's a
this, you have to do
blessing.
it.
Certainly,
Blessing.
certainly.
That's
So
how
if
it
I
is.
if I'm now looking at some little lessons which you had mentioned, and I would like the people to hear from you. The concept of serving you had mentioned.
Yeah. Whatever, I mean, the learnings come not as a preaching, but the learning comes as more as a practical demonstrations, I would say. At
Demonstration,
times,
yes.
at times it just inadvertently happen, and Swami picks up that lesson to tell you that this is what it is meant for. Give you an example, it so happened that when we were going in Swami's car, fortunately, once again, I was sitting in the front and Mr. Radhakrishna was driving, and Swami and two other boys were sitting behind. In between, suddenly Swami pulled out a dabba. It's normally stacked with some eatables there. So,
He's like a mother carrying the food all the time.
yes, it's always there. So, or sometimes he would stop en route and pull out the fruits and give it to the people who are standing around. Some roadside, some people just call them and hand over. I mean, it's universal love, so there's no surprising part of it. So one day it so happened he pulled out and served in the three plates and given it to those two and me. So I was just holding it, sitting in the front. Suddenly Swami filled another plate and said, "Idi Radha Krishna ki." So he gave it to me. So you hold in your left hand your plate and holding on the right hand, and for Radha Krishna to take from that. Mr. Radhakrishna said, no, I will not take. No, keep it aside. And Swami said, no, you are driving, you must eat. Obviously, once Swami says that, no going back. So Radhakrishna quickly finished eating that. Just to, just to complete that, he has done that. Then Swami said, I point that. Then he gave some more. Then again, I was holding for Radha.
Second
And,
helping.
second helping. And Radhakrishna said, that's enough, Swami, and something like that. And it's done. Then, once I put the plate down, Swami said, "Nee plate edi?" He asked me, "Where is your plate?" I said, "Swami, I'm holding it here." Then he said, "No tinleda. You didn't eat." He said, "Let Swami, I'll have now." I said, "Good boy. Then you have to first serve others before you serve yourself." You see, Swami also has served you first. Now only I'm eating. And he started eating then. So simplest of
Beautiful.
the it's a statement looks so simple, but a great life's learning, I would say. The simple things that you can, if you can inculcate it, probably stretches your character into a right mold, and that's how that's what he would mean. And that's one of those which I vividly remember one of the car episodes.
Okay, I'll give you another topic which is very close to your heart also, silence.
Okay, silence, of course, it's not only mine. Swami's insistence on people maintaining silence is which is all of us know. Old Prashant Nilayam, if all of us have had the opportunity of being around that time, I mean, the one thing which is profound there is silence. I mean, you wherever, even in the canteen you go there, people are still talk softly. They don't make extra unnecessary noise, and it should be so silent. And all round surrounding Prashant Nilam, you don't have to say. I mean, we all know how silently they may maintain the whole thing. And on top of that, evenings when bhajan, before the bhajan, there used to be Veena recital every day in Prashant Nilayam. And when you sit outside, you can hear the Veena. Stringed instrument without a mic, you can hear Veena would mean it's only a reflection of what level of silence it's maintained there. And during that time, Swami would be just walking in front of the sands, in front of the
Sands.
mandir, in the sands there, with the Chitravati breeze slowly coming his way, and slowly he's moving around, not talking, not looking at anyone, not talking to anyone, just waving his hand around. And even if someone wants to get up, he would say, "Just sit, don't disturb." And that is how he always insists on maintaining certain, the silence part of it. So, to add it to that, I would say the after bhajan in Prashant Nilayam, there used to be dhyanam. Even now it's there, but those days, this very small group is to be permitted inside. The permanent residents only were permitted inside. And during that dhyanam time, when I was in door boy once, I was there upstairs at Swami with Swami. Swami, while reading a letter, he just folded it so slowly and kept it aside. He demonstrates the extent of the discipline or silence that you need to maintain, and such certain activities are going on. The respect we should give it to that activity. I mean, that is how it goes on. And two beautiful incidents I would share with you. One is that Mudumalai, where you've seen the tree, that tree episode where Swami stood in the tree and all of us were there. That group, that evening when we were reaching Mudumalai, we reached Mudumalai the guest house. And the evening, suddenly, someone said, those people, Samiti members said, Swami wants to stay, you can stay back in the evening here. Tomorrow morning you can travel to Ooty. So all of us said, Swami will stay. And Swami also stayed. Swami said, okay, let us stay. A very pleasant evening, absolutely no one around, and total silence. Yeah, this is the one. Total silence. And, there are some one or two park benches at the edge of the hillock-like thing. So Swami sat on one of them, and all of us sat around just simply like that, without just sitting normally. Normally, the conversations are commenced by Swami only, so no one takes the initiative of talking. So that particular time, Swami was silent. So all of us are just sitting silently, looking at Swami, and just looking around. I mean, it's a forest area where we're all sitting, evening twilight zone sort of a situation. And suddenly Swami said, "Shh, what can you hear?" Em vinipistondi, he said. What are you hear? What can you hear? So what will you hear? So someone said some cricket sound, all around in the grass and all that. He said, no, focus properly. Just see, close your eyes. What can you hear? Then Swami is expecting you to hear much more, sensitively into something else. So you close your eyes. In spite of having Swami in front of you, you close your eyes and try to focus and see what is expected of you. You're trying to understand what is that we need to hear. That sort of a intriguing thought process. So you hear, and suddenly someone said, Swami, I can hear a truck. Somewhere in the, probably much far away on the highway, some trucks keep going now and then. So that truck going, you could hear. And Swami said, beyond that, he said. So the silence, then you focus, you're trying to build up your focus into something beyond the general noises that you hear. He was trying to ask us to go beyond that silence and that activity. And in the meantime, someone came up and said, Swami, dinner is ready. So the whole trance was broken for a moment. All of us jumped up like this. I was sitting at the end of the group, and even I jumped up, and Swami looked at all of us, and it was just a small thing. Generally, someone taps you, suddenly what happens? That's how it happened. No other ways. So therefore, when Swami got up, he came round like this, and when I was there behind, he patted me on my back and said, "Why did you jump like that?" Then there's no answer. I mean, just he's seen that probably in your focus you forgot the surroundings. So when something happens, that's how it happens. And he stopped for a moment and said, "Beyond that silence, only can you hear the pranavam. So you must reach." I mean, he just said that statement. He said, "Beyond the silence, a nishabdam tarvata nik vinipinchede pranamam." Beyond that
Oh,
silence is what you can hear pranamam.
Pranava sound.
And yeah,
Beautiful.
so if if at all we are trying to evolve into those, that is the expectation, that is the focus, that is the level of reach that we need to have to accept those, and that's one of those. So obviously, Swami set the target for you. If at all you need to reach that, that's a target. And the
Beautiful.
second one is one in Vrindavan. It happened that normally in Vrindavan building, Swami would rest upstairs, and downstairs only Mr. Rambrahmam is to stay. His family used to stay inside, interior, and in the front hall and all those areas, only Mr. Rambrahmam is to stay there. Probably you would have expected, he would have expressed it to Swami, saying, "Swami, at 4:30 or something, when I get up and go inside for my morning ablutions and go, no one would be there in the front side." So, I mean, probably then Swami said, it seems, "Okay, call the final year boys, ask them to come here and study in the night and go in the morning." So
Hmm.
fortunately, I was part of that qualified final year. I was that time. So I was also part of that team. Many things the degree has given, amongst other things, is such qualifications. It was more useful for me on these factors. I happened to join the group, and we were all there together. And nights we used to study. Those people who used to study and all that. And morning, what used to happen is 4:30, 5 o'clock. Even we had to go back to hostel. So we roll your beds and go off, because you can't leave them in the bungalow where Swami is coming down, so many guests and things like that. So understanding is you roll your beds and go. And again, all that happens only at 4:30. We didn't know why we were called in, so we rolled up and started moving. When we opened the door, Ms. Rambrahman came and said, "Where are you going?" "I've asked you people to stay here because I have to go at 4:30 and things like that." Then he said, "At least one of you stay." Then he looked at me and said, "You stay." I said, "Fine." I stayed back, and others gone. Then you bolt the door again, expecting that Ms. Rambrahman to go into his own activities. So I was sitting alone that day, and suddenly I heard some footsteps. When I heard the footsteps, I was wondering it could be, because the hall in which we were sleeping, above that is an open terrace, which Swami would use to walk across to give Naga Sankirtan darshan. So, I was wondering if someone has jumped a wall, no security, nothing those days, and easily scalable walls, I mean, buildings. So I was wondering whether someone has gone that side. So I quickly went up the stairs to see. There's a door which is leading to that darshan place that is locked. I said, if it's locked, then no point in disturbing it. No, morning 4:30. So I said, morning I'll go and see. Morning I went and saw there's no one there. I was wondering what that sound. Probably I misread and misheard the whole thing. It happened the second day also. And then I thought I should tell someone. So then I went and next day, third day, I went and I wanted to tell Mr. Rambrahmam, "Sir, I heard some sound." So I went into the safe room. There I saw Rambrahmam Garu happily sitting and doing this namaskaram and listening to something. And when he saw me coming in, he suddenly said, "Shh, sit." Then I said, "Okay, there's nothing serious." So I sat. I wanted to tell him that there's footsteps I'm hearing. He himself said, "You see, you hear the footsteps? I think Swami is walking in his room." And if you hear that, the importance of the footsteps come so much for you. And Then you close your eyes and here, imagine Swami walking into the room, going back and coming back. 3 rooms. You walk up and down. So Swami must be doing it. So so every day it used to be a regular feature between us. So we go and settle down and say, you can hear? Yes. So both of us would just close your eyes, keep hearing the whole thing. Then one day it so happened in the morning in the safe room, some discussion came of the morning walks and all that. Swami casually was listening to it and he said, I can't go for morning walk like you people. So I walk in my room only, he said. Very, very casually, a simple statement. I walk in the room only. And everyone saw, for everyone, it's a new thing. I mean, hearing Swami talking about morning walk. And therefore, all of us just listening, Ram Brahmangar started smiling. So, Emaindi, Swami asked him. So, Ram Brahmangar said, Swami, I hear Swami's footsteps every day morning. Swami said, Nitalkai, how can you hear? Because, carpeted rooms, those carpeted rooms, and Swami walks very, light-footed.
Softly.
And so very softly, and therefore, how can you hear? No, Swami, I heard, even Sagar heard, he said. I was sitting next to there doing Pad Seva, and then suddenly he said, even Sagar heard Swami. And Swami looked at me and said, did you hear? Himra? Auna? He said. I said, Swami, only in real silence, absolute silence, that you can hear Swami's footsteps. He said, Ade. He said this, Ade. Only in absolute silence can you hear the footsteps of God. He said.
Beautiful.
It's a
Beautiful
statement,
points.
and think about it. And so many Swami is telling you God. Who is God? I mean, you can analyze the statement of Swami. I mean,
Yes.
whichever way you want, what he's trying to convey. All the people were there,
Beautiful.
and he said, Ade, only in absolute silence can you hear the footsteps of God. That's the importance
Beautiful.
Swami gives for the silence. So, some of these we can carry in our daily processes and see how much we can really practice in that. And smallest noise you make, Swami would say, Yemi anta sabdam chastav. He would say straight away. He wouldn't like anyone making a noise. Glass you have to put softly. A plate you have to leave it on the tabletop softly. Like that it is to be. And he himself is like that. I mean, he himself is very careful about doing things and physically. So obviously, he leads
Beautiful.
us. He leads us by his own example from those points.
Brother, if I may ask you, when Swami gives so much of importance and attention to you, obviously it is very difficult at that time to keep your foot on the ground and remind yourself. I remember Kasturi Garu telling us every time he used to tell us, pinch yourself every morning and remind that he's God, because he's very smart in making you forget that he's God. But I guess it's a journey to forget and keep moving. Did you ever have this challenge to remind yourself, or did you slip?
I must say this, that two things. One, I was not into that realm where I lose my base connection in any case. So there are enough number of people above us moving around Swami, and who we are those days were happily around Swami. So we had our own distances. So it's never that we have not gone to a stage of intoxicated situation where you lose control on yourself, number one. Because you are seeing people around you like Raja Reddy Garu or Kasturi Garu or Ram Brahman Garu, Dr. Gokak. All these people are around Swami, and I mean, you would say they are the stalwarts in the spiritual paths in their own ways. And all of them are still holding on to Swami in way. And see, looking at them, your humility will be in its own place, with all due
Certainly.
respect. Second thing is, these people also take upon themselves to keep guiding students. We were all continuously guided by someone or other on this matter. Dr. V.K. Gokak's evening, he used to take classes for us. After his evening walk, he used to come and say, take a class for all of us. Just go and sit there. listen him out, his thoughts. In that, he would talk about Swami and the whole thing. Not only Swami, the man, the whole cosmos and this and that. In that, if you are continuously driven into that sort of a thinking process, I don't think there's much scope for us to lose ourselves, our ground. Second thing is, people like Mr. Ram Brahmangar is always there to hold you back by your ear and say, "Why are you doing this? Don't do this." And his favorite statement is, "Swami is like fire. Be at a suitable distance where you enjoy his warmth. Don't go too close." He would say that. So these are the reminders for all these youngsters around, saying where to draw a line and how careful. Even someone slipped a sentence or a word inappropriately, there are people who come quickly to correct you and say, "Be careful, don't do this," and things like that. So obviously, at least I for one have not seen anyone faltering on those factors, and no one has given so much of a different feel to it as much as I thought. The fear of fall would always be there, because our fear is not because we fall. Our fear is because we miss the opportunity of being at his lotus feet. So therefore, when you are thinking Swami is angry with you, it's not he's worried about his scolding. It's not you are worried about his not scolding, not looking at you.
Correct.
To be honest, so you miss that.
Correct.
So
So,
therefore,
so right.
that's what we miss. It's not his scolding is not what worries you at all. I mean, if he scolds you, be happy. I mean, you are one of those you are one of those fortunate fools to be reprimanded and corrected and
Correct.
then brought back into the way. Why not? Why? That's an opportunity by itself. But
Since you
here it is.
mentioned, since you mentioned people like Raja Reddy and all, you know, I always have this admiration for such personas, and I really wonder as to what is that edge which that personality or that persona has compared to us normal people. Like we also went as a students and we enjoy, but what was the approach difference that made them that seeker, that that kind of,
You
how would
said
you
it
explain
because
that?
you said it yourself. Because basically, I'm not giving a theory on this. I look at it this way as if Mr. Raja Reddy is there, he has gone there as a seeker to Swami, and therefore his total focus is on enjoying and experiencing Swami in true sense. Whereas probably as students, we end up in dichotomy of our excelling in our education as well as and probably pleasing our parents, and on top of that, then having Swami's grace on us. So these are the things that your mind keeps on. As a student, every student would go that you don't have got good marks, then you are slowly discouraged about it somewhere subtly by some parent or someone saying that focus on your studies. Whereas for someone like Raja Reddy Garu or all of them, they are the true seekers. They are only dedicated themselves for seeing the Lord in His own total thing. So obviously their experiences are entirely different. What we have experienced, what we have talked to each other at this point of time are purely physical. I mean, whereas I'm sure if someone like Raja Reddy Garu be touched, he would probably, his experiences must be totally different, on a different plane altogether, for all that we know. So his is a purely a single track mind of seeking the reality, and also seeing Swami in true form. Whereas we are all diverted in various uh, probably activities. As I told you, education is one. You're there for study, so study. You have to please your parents, so do that. Then you are talking about being near Swami. There are people who focus more on education than at that stage. They thought they are there for education more, less of the other aspects. Spirituality will come at their age. There are people who had that opinion also. Nothing right, nothing wrong about it. They are in a good atmosphere. That itself, imbibing that atmosphere itself was good enough for them as far as they're concerned. That's my thinking. But
how would you guide youngsters about that silent treatment? When we always say that Bhagwan did not talk to you or avoided you, how would you give them the guidance of how to look at that phase of silent treatment? Because even today it happens to us when we get blocked out, and we have periods of no connection that way, if you call it so.
Swami's treatment is it's exclusive for each individual for a purpose. If you know that, then you need to bear with it and go with your own introspections. Nothing more, nothing less. No one can guide you when Swami is not, you are not happy. Our Swami is not happy with you. No one can guide you otherwise. You have to introspect and find what are the reasons why Swami is displeased with each one of us. I don't think anyone could guide any one of us on that. Only thing is, keep our faith. Don't let that falter. And our prayers should always continue. That's how we should look at it. And what else can we do except to pray?
Would you like to give a generic, a final message from being at Bhagwan's lotus feet, a message or your feelings about for devotees to uplift themselves and remain connected at the feet?
We have not evolved into that level of situations, stages where we could give messages to people. All that we all can do repeatedly and again is to keep praying to Swami himself to guide us, guard us, protect us, and take us aloft where he wants us to go. Because ultimately it's he who should guide us. None of us, all of us are only following the path laid by his or shown by him to us. I think ideally all of us, if we can manage to do that in any little way we can, I think that should be good enough. Only thing is, let's not get carried away of Swami's statement only saying, don't think you become a Seva member or Samiti member, you're doing a service to others. By becoming that, you are doing a service to yourself, because that gives a way of thinking of Swami continuously. Because your way of doing, you will stop and you will start looking at Swami's way of doing. Swami wants us to do this. If you are in a Seva activities, Swami expects us to do this. So you're thinking of Swami continuously, and therefore, so all these put together, it will lead us to, ultimately it is for our own prayers are to him, to protect us, guide us, guard us. Nothing more. Where else can we go? He is ultimate. He is the only one we can look to. So therefore, I think all that we need to do is keep praying to him, and and all of us can hold our hands together and keep sharing our thoughts amongst each other like this, so that it inspires each other once again. Each one can draw their own lessons and their own understandings from Swami's ways of doing things, and accept it as his norm.
I really feel so thankful to you, and I'm grateful to Bhagwan for this beautiful opportunity. Well, Sagar, you have not only brought us, wonderful divine memories, you have in fact allowed us to relive those moments. You have helped us to, visualize Bhagwan in those beautiful, manners. I'm sure you have tons and tons of stories to tell. Unfortunately, I don't want to take too much of time. And if God willing, Sai willing, we will hear more stories from you sometimes. But for this wonderful occasion, from my core of my heart, bottom of my heart, I wish to thank you. Thank you for accepting, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And one last, sorry, I can't but share this with you. See,
Sure.
once it so happened in Vrindavan, in Prashantinalayam, Swami, the land was acquired for Gokulam. And therefore, Swami used to go regularly from at 11 o'clock after bhajan, he used to go to Gokulam to set things right, because initial stages of Gokulam, land was just acquired. It was a fields, so everything was set right and things like that, and where the shed should come, where the trees. Swami said plant now itself, so that tomorrow all these cows need not be in the shed, they can be under the trees. And that was a plan he
Oh.
had
Hmm.
at that level of planning. And someone suggested, someone said a tap at the corner end of one of the fences. And then the other man said, no, we can't lay it means laying a pipeline to that extent. Swami said, lay it. If a cow is thirsty there, why should it come this far? You should have the water there. But to that level of minute details, Swami was taken care of. So during that period, I would share one small experience of mine. Swami used to go by car, Radhakrishnan used to drive, and Kutumbrao used to regularly, join him in that car. So Kutumbrao Radhakrishna used to sit in front, and Swami would sit behind Radhakrishna. And either one of us, either me or one more person, whosoever it is, Swami will say Noora. So we used to go and sit next to Swami in the car, and we had the opportunity of going to that Gokulam and see the rest of it. So it so happened, one particular day's instance, I'll tell you, the car was going, I was in the car with Swami, and so therefore, and Swami is sitting, and Kutumbrao is diagonally opposite, so he was turning back and talking to Swami. So what I would do is, probably I would be sitting like this to watch Swami by the side. And by one side, because you can't be sitting straight when Swami is sitting next to you, you will look towards Swami, so you are really turning one side, and short distance. So when the car reached almost near the bus stand, the Radhakrishna slowed the car very subtly. And Swami knows that Radhakrishna's way of, things. So he said, Emaindi. Then Radhakrishna noticed that devotees who were coming, got down the bus, are running towards car, seeing Swami's car. So therefore, he slowed down the car so that all can have darshan. So Swami looked Swami's darshan, and then
he was very sensitive person.
Very sensitive, and these are the people who would obviously be around Swami. Such people only who were great noble souls. So, then what happened is, Swami looked around, and then I saw all the devotees coming. What he did was, he put his hand on me like this and pushed me back with his left hand, and started waving at the devotees like that. It went till for some distance, like end of our our police station today, little further down. Till that, the devotees were running. All the devotees keep running for Swami's darshan. So
Yes.
Swami was happily waving at them and all that. And then he started his discussions with Mr. Kutumbrao. Talking to him, some conversation he was having. Stopped, he waved, then again started his conversation. What happened to me was, I was sitting there, then I realized, inadvertently, I moved around this way so that I blocked the window so that people couldn't have darshan. So very consciously, I made an effort to sit straight and push myself back so that I don't come in the way of people having darshan, and making sure that I am no way in coming in the way. When my thought process. Swami went to Gokulam, and on return, I was much more careful. So I was constantly thinking whether I'm okay or not okay, things like that. The moment my car entered the gate and got down, Swami got down, he looked at me and said, tomorrow onwards, don't come with me. And I was, fold your hands and say, Swami, tappa indi. So, Emi, what did you do wrong? He asked. I said, Swami, I came in between for the darshan, of the people. People having darshan, I blocked the view. So Swami pushed me back. So that was what was in my mind. Swami said, "Nee talkai. No one can come between me and my devotees." A statement he made. No one can come between, not you. No one can come between me and my devotees. Adi kaadu. Inkem tappu chesavu, he said. Not that. What else? What mistake? What else you have done? I didn't have a clue of what he was referring to. Then he said, all of them are from the world, they're looking at Swami. Whereas you are sitting next to Swami and thinking of the world. What is the point in sitting by the side of Swami? So this is a message probably I carried all through even today. So ultimately what matters to Swami is where you are looking at. Where you sit is immaterial to him. You wherever you sit, wherever we sit, and wherever we pray, and our prayers are towards Him, He is bound to look at us and bound to take care of us. And this is what I want to convey as a end thought
I think a very,
of
very good punch
Bhagwan.
at the end. Thank you so much.
Sai
I
Ram.
think I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. I personally love it. Thank you, Swami, for giving this beautiful opportunity to hear his glory and stories. So thank
It
you,
is His
Brother
glory.
Sagar. I just can't say thank you enough to you for coming and sharing those beautiful moments. So I'm no words to express my gratitude. Thank you so much.
No words, no thank yous. It's all a pleasure sharing Swami's grace and Swami's stories with each other. Sai Ram.
Sai
Sai Ram.
Sai.